welcome to our presentation this evening. So if you're here, you're most likely interested in learning more about our social work program at Lakehead University at our two campuses. So welcome. Thank you for taking the time this evening to join us for this webinar. So before we get started, there are a few things that I do want to go through. There's just a few housekeeping items. So please note that all participants except for our host have been muted for the presentation portion of this webinar. The question and answer session will be worked into the presentation. There is a slide for questions, so please submit your questions through the Q&A function located in the bottom navigation bar. Alternatively, you can also use the chat feature. The Q&A function just works a little bit best for us, as we can either answer the question directly through this feature or answer the question live as we walk through this information session for Discover Lakehead. Please also be aware that at this time we are all working remotely, so as a result there may be some unexpected or unavoidable noises in our background. Hopefully no tech issues come up, but we truly appreciate your patience while we sort of continue to navigate working from home. Lastly, please also note that we are recording this webinar. So to start things off, we do have some introductory slides before we get into the social work portion of this presentation. But my name is Erin. I am a recruitment officer with Lakehead University's undergraduate recruitment department. I'm also an alumna of Lakehead University, so I love Lakehead as a student, and I still love Lakehead as an employee. So very excited to be telling students about how much I love Lakehead. And now that I'm back at Lakehead, that I'm able to give back to the school that did give me so much. So I do also have a colleague with me as well.
Hey everyone, my name is Julie and I'm an admissions recruitment officer with Lakehead. I'll be in the background tonight just answering any questions you might have through the Q&A function. So feel free to drop any questions that you might have down there and I'll be ready to type away as they come through. As well, I'll just throw any relevant links into the chat feature that you can take a look at a later time or tonight while you're viewing the presentation. Enjoy.
And thank you, Julie. So we do also have our social work faculty joining us today.
Hi there, my name is Jill Archer and I'm the field education coordinator for the one-year honors Bachelor of Social Work program at Lakehead and also our MSW, our Masters of Social Work program. I'm also an alumni as well of Lakehead University, so very excited to be here tonight to talk to you about the program and what you can expect should you decide to come to Lakehead. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
Am I there?
Yeah.
You're there. We
can
see
okay.
you.
All I see is Jill. So I was like, can you see me? Sorry about that. I'm Jenna Garlick, and similar to Jill, I'm a field education coordinator, and I work with our fourth year social work students as well as our MSW students. And I'm also the student advisor for the program as well. So I look forward to chatting with all of you.
Thanks, Jenna. So before we jump into the social work presentation, there are just a few things that I do want to cover about Lakehead University. So we are actually one of Canada's top universities. So not just in Ontario, but nationally as well. We are also the #2 undergraduate research university in Canada. So what's really great about this is in your second, third, or fourth year at Lakehead, you are able to participate in undergraduate research. You don't have to wait until your master's program or PhD program. You're able to really take part in a lot of that research in your undergraduate studies. We also have 90% of our classes with fewer than 60 students. And what's great about this is you're able to make those connections with your professors and your peers. And a lot of our Lakehead grads cite how our small class sizes really contributed to their success as well at Lakehead. We also offer $11 million in scholarships and bursaries annually to our students. Not since we've started as a university, but every year we offer tons of wonderful financial aid packages to our students. We do also have over 65 programs of studies. We are covering a few of them tonight, but we do have more as well if you're interested in maybe taking different electives and different programs as well. We have tons of variety for you. We do also have a wonderful stat of 97.7% of our grads being employed within 2 years of graduation. So some of our grads even find their jobs before they've crossed the stage at convocation, or whether they've secured employment with different co-op employers or through practicums and placements as well. So without further ado, I will pass the presentation along to our social work faculty.
Great. Thank you, Erin and Julie, for introducing us to the group today. Again, my name is Jenna, and I'm going to start our presentation, and Jill is also going to be giving you some information as well. So next slide, please, Erin. Okay, so you all are here, I would hope, because you are interested in social work. So some of you might be, you know, the person in your group that everyone wants to tell their problems to, or the friend who always listened, or maybe you're working with people already and just want to be able to do it in a way that you're feeling like you'll make a difference in their lives. So social workers do empower individuals, families, and communities. We advocate for human rights and social justice, and we also contribute to innovative research to the social work field. So becoming a social worker is a career that makes a difference. That's kind of our headline. We try to contribute positive change into everything that we do. Next. So what we offer and what we're going to talk about today is we have a fully accredited honors Bachelor of Social Work program and a Master of Social Work program in both Thunder Bay and Orillia. We have a 4-year program and a 1-year program that we are going to talk about today. We'll touch base on the master's program, but that might be a bit down the road for all of you. In our program, you do get 700 hours of supervised field experience. And I think this is one of the most exciting parts of our program. Of course, Jill and I are both field coordinators, so we might be a bit biased, but getting that on-the-job experience underneath a social work supervisor is such a great part of the program. And we'll talk a bit more about field, but one thing you should know that is definitely a benefit to coming to Lakehead Social Work Program is because we are a smaller program, we do have that freedom to really match you with an agency that you want to be a part of with your field placements. Some of those bigger universities there are assigning you to different areas, but we have that freedom to really tailor your placement to what you're interested in and where you see yourself moving on to in your career. So we definitely have lots of dynamic courses and everything from counseling skills, research, policy theory. You'll talk about how to be a good advocate, fight for social justice and human rights. And you also get a recognized professional designation upon graduation. So we are a professional school, which means we do go through accreditation processes. And when you are finished, you're able to register with the Ontario College of Social Workers, and other provinces have similar colleges as well if you are moving away. And so with this degree, you do become a social worker at the end, similar to say a nursing school. You don't just have a degree in social work, you are a social worker, which makes it a really employable degree. Next slide. So this is just some of our professors and staff. Our class sizes do vary. In the first year, they are a bit bigger in those intro courses, but they definitely get smaller. So you really start to get to know your faculty and staff on both the Orillia and Thunder Bay campus. We work with our students from beginning to end. So we follow you in your journey. We get to know you, especially pre-COVID, lots of visits up to the office. We always appreciate that. And the professors that you'll work with have such a wide variety of research expertise and experience in the field. And we also have many sessional lecturers that are community social workers that will be teaching you some of the electives as well. So really, really well-rounded group of people giving you those skills that you need. Next, please. So admission requirements, if you are coming from high school, you need 6 U and M credits and one of those credits must be English, and an overall average of 70%. So we're not too specific. People come from all different backgrounds into social work. We're not known for our math skills, I'll say that, but we've definitely had some students that come with a very heavy math background. So we are open to all, as long as you have those things taken care of, which I find most high school students do. And of course, Lakehead does have some upgrading opportunities if you need as well. We also have a lot of opportunities for college transfer students. So if you are coming from social service worker, child and youth worker, native child and family worker, we do have pathway programs where you enter into year 2 of the program. So if that's your situation, we can talk further about that. You know, after this presentation at a different time, I'm sure you'll have my email, but yeah, lots of opportunities for anyone coming in the program. Next slide. Okay, so what does it look like? Let's talk about the program. So you've decided you want to get involved in helping people and working with individuals and groups. So our program is split up basically into years 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So years 1 and 2, you will do social work introductory courses, as well as elective courses to get you a really great and diverse liberal arts background. So that's a chance for you to really look at anything else you might be interested in. It could be psychology, women's studies, Indigenous learning, sociology. You can take things like anthropology, philosophy, political science, anything that you're thinking you might be interested in, but also kind of work with your social work degree as well. You can start to look at minor programs in your first 2 years as well. Many of our students want a minor in psychology or sociology, for example, to just add to their degree. And in year 2, you will apply for admission into your professional years. We will provide you lots of guidance. That was actually my job today, was going to our first and second year courses and talking to them about it. And once you're in the years 3 and 4, that's when it becomes really a lot, basically all social work courses, unless you are doing some of these minor programs. But you'll do courses that focus on counseling theory, social policy, research. And in years 3 and 4 is where you'll also get to do those 2 field placements. So you'll do 1 50-day placement in your 3rd year. And in your 4th year, you will do a 60-day placement at 2 separate organizations. So you'll have 2 full placement opportunities. And that's also in years 3 and 4 when you'll get to take some of our great social work electives. So we have electives varying from things like mental health, addictions, child welfare, violence, diversity, palliative care. So there's bound to be some electives that you find interesting, but that will also contribute to your expertise as you go into placement and into your careers. Next slide. Oh, so now we're moving on to the 1-year program. I went faster than I thought. So for the 1-year program, I am going to throw it over to Jill because she's the expert there and she's going to take it from here.
Great. Thank you, Jenna. So I'm happy to talk a little bit about our 1-year honors Bachelor of Social Work program. So this is a completely separate and distinct program from our 4-year degree. And it's a program that has been designed really to serve the needs of students coming with a degree already. So a minimum of a 3-year university degree from an accredited university. And some students do come with master's degrees. We even have had students with PhDs. So someone who's decided maybe that they took a degree of interest to them, but they weren't getting employed, or they realized that social work actually is really kind of alongside their interests, and now they want another degree. So what's exciting about this program, if you have a degree already, you can apply to this program and complete your honors Bachelor of Social Work in 1 year. So the admission starts in July, you start in the summertime, and you move all the way through until the end of June the following year. And I'll just give you a sense of what that looks like here on the next slide. So in your summer session, you're going to do all of the courses that you would do in years 1 and 2. So this program is all social work all of the time. And you'll also do a 3rd year course at the end of that summer session. So these courses are condensed into 2 or 3 week blocks, and they are just intense, highly focused. And this is a really heavy duty program, but it is a program that students really thrive in and do very well. Then in the fall and winter, you'll take a selection of courses, and these are all on campus in summer and fall. And then in winter, your courses are actually online, as your placement also begins at that time. What's different about this 1 year program is you only have one placement, but it is a full 700 hours or 100 days. So you get that same amount of experience basically, but you get it at one place, one agency, and you really get to dive in deep. So you'll be taking your courses, heavy course load in the fall. In the winter, you take a few more courses as you're doing placement 4 days a week. And then in the spring, you can continue your field placement until usually mid to late June. And you often don't have any other courses. So often students increase their days in the field to 5 days a week there. So very intense. You do get to take an elective. You do get to really get to know your profs in this program as well. It's small numbers. And the field placement we find in this program too is really exciting, because students get that really intense, deep experience, that depth that they get. So very exciting program that way. So we'll move on to the next slide there. And I'm going to talk specifically about field placements here for a little while. So our field placement is a minimum of 700 hours. And that looks like, so like I just mentioned, the 1 year program of 100 days, or if you're in the 4 year program, you actually get a little bit more. You get a 50-day and a 60-day placement. So in the 4 year program, as Jenna mentioned, you'll do 2 field placements, and you do that at separate agencies, getting different types of experiences. And you get to do that under a qualified social work supervisor. So whether that's somebody who works on site in that agency or somebody that we assign, you do have absolutely the support of an accredited qualified social worker right alongside you, supporting you the entire time. What's really exciting too about our program is that there are northern and remote opportunities available for our field placements, including international placements. So we have students really often talk to Jenna or our other academic supports, because if you're going to do this in the 4 year program, you do have to augment when you do placement a little bit. So definitely it's doable, and it's just a matter of making sure you have those conversations early. In our 1 year program, because your winter courses are online and the program is actually designed that you can move back to your home community or be part of any community you wish to locate to, you have courses online in winter, so you can do your placement in any of these types of scenarios, whatever fits best for you at that time. So that's one of the exciting things too, is just having these different opportunities. So we'll move on to the next slide here so I can tell you a little bit about the types of agencies that you might get to work with. So this is a lot. The next 2 slides, this one and the next one, are all about some local agencies. So these are the Thunder Bay local agencies. And the next slide will be about the ones in Simcoe County close to Orillia. And what you'll see is there's a real good variety here of agencies. Social workers can work in almost every area of social work practice. So you see it right from working with infants and children up to teens and adolescents, working with adults, seniors, and right to end of life. So as you can see here, we work also in hospital type settings, homeless shelters, hospices. We work with other marginalized communities in kind of more unique ways sometimes, maybe in a research or policy way. So like we work with Barrie Native Friendship Center, for example, or you might work with an LGBTQ2S community group. We work with libraries now, people with developmental disabilities, street centers, all sorts of absolutely incredible opportunities. People in conflict with the law. Like I just will keep adding things because I just keep remembering more and more things that you could possibly do with this degree. And we have people come with lots of varied background interests. So sometimes students come with a real interest in art, and there's a way to integrate that into social work and as an art therapist or a play therapist. People interested in outdoor rec and how you can integrate some of that into social work practice. So social work is so vastly broad that if you have a passion for helping and supporting people, you can often draw in all sorts of other interests to make that support even deeper. And you can work in all sorts of different realms, whether it's, again, a Salvation Army or a school board. So there's just endless opportunities when it comes to the possibilities of where you could do your placement and where you could end up working in the field at the end of the day. So definitely have a good look at some of the different types of places. Feel free to ask questions as well about any of these different types of agencies that you might find yourself at. And I've really just spoken quite a bit here about the more direct practice, like working with people in specifically, but we also have many opportunities in research and policy, people that work in government, with municipalities, and other sort of more grassroots or overarching sort of agencies that provide support to more frontline agencies as well. So very exciting stuff you can do with placement here. I'll just go to the next slide now. Thank you. So again, just a few more details about what kind of a future you can have with a social work degree. And again, as Jenna mentioned already, you can be a recognized professional upon graduation. So not many programs actually are regulated and are a professional designation when the student graduates. So you can get your registered social worker designation, your RSW. You'll be eligible as soon as you graduate from our HBSW program. And you can go off then and you'll be qualified for a number of really specialized type roles that you can't apply to from other backgrounds education-wise. So it really opens a lot of doors to accessing opportunities. We also find that graduates from our program have had a lot of success using their degree as a stepping stone into other disciplines. So we have seen medicine, law, education, and many, many more. Students get in there and they kind of find a niche, and then they maybe want to specialize in some area, and they really just kind of continue to flourish and use that underpinning of social work and those ideas to really move them forward. And lastly, many students also continue on to our fully accredited Masters of Social Work program. And Jenna and I also work with those students in those programs. It's a very exciting opportunity to do your Masters of Social Work. It's a lot, an opportunity to do deeper learning, another placement, and to really specialize some of your interests a little bit more through electives in that program as well. So definitely something to consider down the road if you're finding social work is definitely the path you want to pursue. So we'll go to the next slide. So now Jenna and I are more than happy to take any questions you may have. Please feel free to be as specific as you want to be. We're more than happy to give you any details or information we can.
So Julie, this opens that up to you. Are there any questions from behind the scenes for our social work faculty?
Yeah, so one good question here. If you do the one-year program in Thunder Bay, are you still able to do a placement opportunity in your hometown?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was not,
Oh, sorry.
You can go ahead, Jenna. Jenna's in Thunder Bay, but I wasn't very clear on that. My apologies.
Yeah, so for our placements for the one-year program, as Jill said, they are one big 100-day placement. So if you do want to leave town, leave Thunder Bay to complete that, you can do one of two things. You can finish your courses, and that goes till about the end of April, and do a one long placement after courses are done. So throughout the spring, summer, those 100 days. Or what you could do is do a split placement. So you could do half your placement here in Thunder Bay, along with the same schedule as your other one-year students. And then the second half of your placement, once your courses are over, you can go to your home community to finish that second half. So you would have that opportunity in the one-year program to split it into two placements if you do want to venture away from Thunder Bay. And the same would go for Orillia students, I think, Jill, but the schedule is a bit different there with some courses that you might have that opportunity to leave earlier.
Yes, because our winter courses are all online. Students typically just tell us right up front where they would like to be placed, and we do our very best to get you into that location for your placement for the full 100 days.
So it is all online. Someone did ask if the winter session was online. So just to clarify that, in Orillia, the winter session for the 1 year program is online.
That's it in the Q&A for general questions. If you have anything else, Erin, you're welcome to share.
Sure. I actually do have a question. If students didn't find, in that list a placement or an organization that they wanted to do a placement at, are they able to find their own placement and sort of what maybe that process is on that end if they're able to?
Yeah, so we do, we don't have kind of a hard and fast list of placements. We do have agencies that we work with consistently for sure. But we also have placements that are new every year. That's part of Jill and I's job as field coordinators, is searching out those new placements. So if a student does have an agency in mind that they've heard of, that they've, witnessed some great programming being done, we would, if it's nothing we've heard of before, we would investigate and make sure the right requirements are there. But field is a very flexible place. We are open to searching out really whatever your interests are, as long as we can ensure you have social work supervision. But in terms of connecting, we don't want students to connect themselves, as many agencies have these processes for students, and it's a lot smoother of a process if they connect with us first and we ensure that all those requirements are in place.
Perfect. So I'm not sure if any more questions have come in, but if anyone doesn't have any questions, there is the social work email or phone line as well to reach out to if there's any other questions along the way in your journey to Lakehead. Maybe you don't have questions right now, but maybe next week or overnight or anything like that, you have questions. I definitely recommend you copy down that email in order to send any of your future questions to, just in case. So if there are no other questions, I am going to move on to some of our other slides, but please continue to ask those questions along the way. There is still a chance at the end for you to have any of your questions answered. So some of the next steps that I'm going to cover. So maybe you have decided that Lakehead is the school for you, social work is the program for you, and you're looking at applying or looking at some of our upcoming deadlines. So for anyone who is a 101 applicant, so if you are coming directly from high school, there is a January 13th deadline. So please keep that in mind when you are looking at different programs that you're applying to or the social work program. To apply before that deadline, do not apply on January 12th at 11:59 p.m. Applications are open right now. The deadline is January 13th. We do have some deadlines coming up as well in the spring for some of our entrance bursaries. And then also your deadline to accept your offer of admission is June 1st. We do want you to see our campuses. So you are able to take a live guided tour of our Thunder Bay campus or our Orillia campus. So if you're interested in one of our campuses, we aren't offering in-person tours quite yet. We are still working on them at this time, however. So you are able to either scan the QR code up in the top corner, or you can also go to lakeheadu.ca/tours. These are, again, live guided tours. So it is myself or some of my other colleagues guiding these tours, answering your questions along the way. You're able to see the campuses, what they look like, the different buildings that are there, and sort of try and imagine yourself as a student right on our campus. Additionally, we do have an open house coming up on Wednesday, December 8th at 5 p.m. So we did just conclude our first open house just a couple weeks ago, but we do have another one coming up just in case you missed that one or the time didn't quite work out for you. At this open house, we have faculty joining us from social work again as well. We have graduate studies joining us as well if you're looking at that Master's of Social Work, but we also have admissions, financial aid, and other student supports as well if you have any additional questions. We do also have some other upcoming events. So if you are between a couple programs, we do have other Discover Lakehead sessions coming up. We do also have some getting to know Lakehead sessions where we talk about sort of the umbrella of our different faculties and some of the different programs under them. And then we do have a general all about Lakehead session. So what's involved in that is just discovering what Lakehead is all about. So you're learning about the different programs that we have, some of the different supports that we have in place, some of our financial aid packages. And so it's a really great way to discover more about Lakehead. And hopefully this isn't the last time that we do connect with you. So if you did want to connect with someone from recruitment, we do have one-on-one meetings that we can make with you through Zoom or through the phone as well. So you are able to scan that QR code, or if you go to our upcoming events page, you're able to scroll to the bottom or type in that long link and it'll bring you right to where you need to book a meeting with us. You can also reach us through our phone line, so that is a toll-free number, or through our recruitment email as well. And we do want to stay connected through our social media. We do post a lot of updates, reminders about deadlines coming up, different events that we have going on for students like you still looking at your post-secondary options. So we do post a lot through Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We are trying to get our TikTok channel up and running as well. We do have a little bit on there. And then also onto YouTube. We do post a lot of different sessions that are recorded. If you're unable to make certain sessions that we have going on, but you are still interested in checking them out, we do try and post them onto YouTube. So that does conclude the formal sort of presentation portion of this webinar. But Julie, are there any other questions that have come in?
Just one question about a specific application, but if you do have specific questions on your application or where you're at in the admission process, I have dropped our Student Central contact information is there as well. So you can contact them by phone or by email just to check on your application status, make sure we have all the documents that we need, and help you out with anything with the application itself.
Thank you, Julie. So hopefully you've learned a little bit more about the social work program and sort of what's involved in the different placements that you're able to take part in. And maybe you don't have questions right now, which is perfectly okay. We are going to stay a little bit longer just in case there are any questions that do come in. But for anyone who does not have any questions, thank you so much for joining us. And I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your evening. And thank you so much to Jenna and Jill for joining us. So again, we are going to stay a little bit longer on the webinar here, just in case there are any additional questions that come through. So we know that some people might be typing away, trying to think of how to word that question in their mind and get the wording correctly and making sure that they can ask those questions.
Quick question here for Jenna or Jill. Do you know what the difference between RSW and CASW is?
Yeah, so an RSW is the designation here in Ontario, but also in other provinces as a registered social worker. And the CASW is the Canadian Association of Social Workers. So that's like a national, it's not a designation, it's a sort of an oversight organization that also gives some guidance to social workers. They have their own sort of set of ethics and standards, and then each province has their own individual ones as well. So you want to be a registered social worker in the province that you intend to work in. And then you could also look to that other resource for some support if you wanted to.
So to follow up on that question, if someone were to want to become a social worker in a different province, is there a specific process or procedure they would need to follow to become certified?
We always recommend students who are interested in eventually practicing in a different province to ensure that they check that regulating body's details. So what do they require? Because there are some places that require differences. So in Ontario, for example, we don't have an entrance exam or an exam at this point for registration. You have to just complete your degree at a satisfactory level and you are granted that designation, whereas other provinces do require an exam. So you want to make sure you know what those requirements are so that you can be sure that you're ready and prepared when you're ready to head back and become registered, that you've got all of those criteria met.
Perfect. So I do have, I guess, another question just to give time for anyone who's still in the audience typing away. Are there any other designations or any other sort of training outside of an MSW that some students in the social work program look at?
I know some of our students, after they get their MSW, they might do some of these extra qualifications. I've had students go into programs like family mediation. If you're very interested in counseling, people will take courses that teach them, DBT or EMDR, further things that qualify you for usually kind of the career you're already in, to really just give you that edge. But as Jill mentioned, we have had students for sure go on to do law school with their social work degree, as well as med school. So many different avenues you can go down once you have your HBSW and that designation.
I did see a question come in, but I see Julie typing, so I think that's so one of the more behind the scenes questions, but we are going to stay a little bit longer just in case anything else comes in. So maybe I'll ask Jill and Jenna, what is your favorite part of the social work program, or your favorite part about sort of being a part of the social work faculty?
That's a good question. Similar to Jill, I did do this program myself. I did the undergrad and then I did the master's. So I have that experience of being a student in the field and feeling so uncertain and so scared, and, being given a client and expected to talk with them. So seeing students go from that first, kind of scared instance of, oh my goodness, anything I say is going to, be just a crisis, to then seeing them graduate, get a job, and become supervisors of students. It comes full circle. So the growth in the program, your academic growth, of course, but your personal growth and your professional growth is huge in this program. You do a lot of self-discovery. You're challenging yourself to really talk about what you don't know, which can be, kind of vulnerable for some students. So that's my favorite part, is just seeing how just the big amount of growth that students will go through, and then connecting with them after they graduate to say, now can you be a mentor? That full circle moments, I love those.
Yeah, that's exciting. I like that as well. Of course, it's just one of those things, right, about our job. Another thing that I really find so amazing in my particular role is getting to see student interest and how they take new areas or avenues to add social work value to agencies or populations that we've maybe never had social work with before, and the way I get to understand agencies and what they're able to do. So it is really exciting as well to just see the breadth of social work education, and then be able to talk to students in that way to really help them see ways in which their interests and how the things that they love doing could really fit into a career in social work. So I like that a lot too.
Awesome. Thank you both. Those are great answers. We do have another question. Actually, a couple of people have asked about the competitiveness of the one-year social work program. So if maybe you could just touch a little bit on that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so our one-year program is really quite competitive. You want to make sure that you do have some really good grades. You can't be right at that cutoff likely and expect to get into the program. But we really evaluate our admissions on a number of criteria. So we are not only focused on marks, but also references that the student provides, their personal statement, in order for us to have a good understanding of who you are personally, and where does your passion lie around social work, and how do you want to contribute to the field, and also your resume and your work experience and your volunteerism. So we want to sort of get a whole picture of who you are in order to make the best selections for admission into our program. So, the marks are important. They do serve a big purpose, because it is a very challenging program. We need to make sure the student is going to be able to get through that, but we also want to make sure that other pieces line up too with social work in order to ensure that. So yeah, it is very competitive. I mean, numbers change pretty significantly year to year, but yeah, I don't know, Jenna, do you remember a little bit more specific on that? I don't really. I just know that I always hear that it's very competitive.
It's competitive because it's popular. It is kind of, that quick get a degree in a year. So it has that salesmanship to it. We can really get you to where you want to go very fast. We do have an admissions coordinator, Jill Zachary, here in Thunder Bay, who really has all that information with how it kind of flexes from year to year. But yeah, as Jill said, it's definitely an application process that's very thorough and looking at the whole picture of you. And if you have questions about that, you can check out our website. It has the whole admissions process there. And you can also contact Jill Zachary for more specific questions on your application.
I've dropped a link to more information on that one-year social work program, including the admission requirements, what the program looks like. So if you are interested in that, definitely check out that link. It includes all the information that Jill and Jenna have talked about. And I believe it also includes Jill Zachary's contact information. Let me just double check, but if not, I will drop that email in the chat as well, so you can copy and paste it for later if you come across any specific admission related questions. Could you maybe just expand a little bit on the personal statement exam and what that entails?
That's an exam that's required for all students coming into the professional years. So the third year, people wanting to enter the professional years, it is as well a requirement. It's really an opportunity. There's a number of questions that are posed that a student then responds to. And we do have examples, several examples of the types of questions on our website that can really help you have an understanding of what kinds of questions that we're going to ask. Usually what happens is it opens up on a Friday night and is available until Sunday, and you have a 3-hour block. It has to be a straight block of 3 hours, but you can fit it in wherever it works for you. And that's when you would respond to those personal statement questions. And I do definitely recommend students take a really good look at the example questions, because they really will help prepare you to be ready to respond to those in a thoughtful way where you're not feeling as rushed and pressured.
And the questions are really about wanting to understand, what draws you to this profession, but also how you reason through a case study or an ethical dilemma. And it's not about being perfect and having the most right answer, but it's just giving the admissions committee an idea of what you think a social worker does and how you would reason through a situation.
I also find that I do get a lot of questions regarding the volunteer experience and what you're sort of looking for in terms of volunteer experience, and if there's anything specific or amount of hours that people need for that portion of the application.
Yeah, I would, definitely take these questions to Jill, because she's the expert on these admission requirements, but there's not a specific set amount of hours for volunteer work or work experience, but the admissions committee does want to see that you do have some going on. And for students right out of high school, who aren't coming back for another career, of course, we're not expecting you to have this great long list of work experience. That's why you're here. But most high school students have great volunteering because your high school requires it of you, and that's great to see. And even, if you're working in the service industry, if you're selling retail, working in a restaurant, that work experience counts too. You're building communication skills, you're getting to know maybe how to handle a prickly person. All those count. So again, once you're in the program, especially for the 4-year students, we will walk you through this quite a bit. But when you are showing us your experience, just know that everything does give us a picture of you. So your resume can be quite long. It doesn't need to be this very curated 2-page resume that you use for, say, a job. We're okay with you going back and letting us know you worked at a summer camp, and you used to have a bike route that you would deliver paper with, you know, because we want to get a good idea of who you are.
Awesome. Thank you both. I think that answers everything in the chat and anything I had to ask you extra. So thank you so much.
No problem.
Yeah, it's great to know that everyone's there. Not see or hear you, but we know you're there.
Definitely. So it doesn't look like we have any more questions that have come in. So for anyone who did not copy down that social work email, I'm going to get Julie to pop it into the chat just to make sure that you do have it, just in case there are any questions before we do go on our way and end our webinar for the evening. So thank you, Julie, for posting that. So no other questions coming in. So thank you to Jill and Jenna for joining us this evening. And thank you to everyone who did hang out with us. I did see that everyone actually did continue to hang out with us and listen to all of the extra information that you gave us. So we really appreciate you joining us this evening. And hopefully you all have a wonderful rest of your evening and you gained a little bit of time to maybe spend looking into the program a little more, emailing your questions, emailing the other Jill in Thunder Bay. Thank you all so much and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.